Shamai chums, today we're going to do a book review, which is why we're in Book Corner here, and this is a really important book to read. It's a modern classic, so we're not talking about J.G. Ballard, the Atrocity Exhibition, we're not even talking about L. Ron Hubbard, we're not talking about the jam making guide from the 1920s with an excerpt from Dig for Britain. No, we're talking about Natasha Brown's Assembly. Now this, although it's quite a narrow book, it's only 100 pages long or so, it's powerful. It's like you've condensed probably more like 10 times the amount of words within these small pages. And that, if I'm honest, is why I read it, because it's an easy reader. And it is an easy reader. It's such a short book, you can read it in one go. For people who are fans of reading books in one go, this is an easy win for you right here. And the reason why you want to read it is because it's really well written for a start, and it's powerful, and I think every single male should read this book, especially white males. They should especially read it, because it's a book that talked about as being, well, it is feminist fiction. It's compared to Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway and Citizen. That's a book I've not read, Citizen. But Mrs. Dalloway, I mean, that's an older book, feminist fiction, but that is nowhere near as good as this. Nowhere near. And this is from a perspective of modern feminism, and I think it's written so much better, so much easier to interpret. Now, if you're a man who questions, oh, but what is this? Why do women say we are still not equal? I thought equality had been sorted 20 years ago. But it's not true. We all know it's not true. Look at the statistics. But more than that, read this book, because this gives you a perspective, a female perspective, on how they experience the world, the workplace, that kind of thing. And it's a female black woman, so that makes it a lot more in depth as well. So it also has that perspective. Now it covers both perspectives there, or multi-perspectives, and really lets you know kind of how it feels. I mean, I don't know how it feels, but I have at least an idea thanks to this book and other books like it. And I really rate it very highly. And if you're going to read one bit of feminist fiction, just to say you've read feminist fiction, read this right here. And it'll even it covers race as well as the female perspective. Now, it's written by Natasha Brown, so she spent a decade working in financial services after studying maths at Cambridge. Cambridge, awesome. So her unique perspective there is reflected in the book, because the female protagonist, black protagonist, also works in finance. I imagine some of the characters she's experienced people of a similar kind of ilk, and let's face it, we have experienced people which are reflected in this book. Perhaps some of them may be extreme, some of them probably not really. Looking at the way, I mean, something that comes to mind is that the fact that Lenny Henry gets racially abused these days, and it's like, what the hell? But it's TV's Lenny Henry. I mean, that's my white perspective. I don't have a clue, because I don't see it, because I'm privileged with my background. From the female perspective, though, I think this book, what it really does well is it shows kind of what it puts you in the mind of a female, and how it feels in the workplace, like the self-doubt, the self-deprecation, the way that, and it's contrasted by men. And I've talked about this with colleagues, how men can, if you get a load of men together, they get all kind of, they can get a little bit laddie, like laddie, like that confident kind of nonsense talk, and they call it banter as well. So I mean, when I've experienced it, it's not really been, at least not, I hope not recently, at least not filtered off into that kind of sexist realm, but you can see how it can do quite easily, or even racist. And it's like, I was talking to a colleague, and she was saying, yeah, I mean, it can be like that. It can make her feel awkward and uncomfortable being in that environment where it's just men being men. And I know from a male perspective it can get frustrating. Yes, I know that, but really we need to reflect how our own behaviour is affecting our colleagues. It's like you wouldn't do a kind of if you had somebody who was Jewish or from Palestine in the office, you wouldn't be doing a frog march, doing Hitler moustaches and whatever, would you? And Hitler salutes. You wouldn't do that, for example. And it's about raising awareness. I think that's what this book is about, and letting us understand what discrimination actually is and how it affects the people who are discriminated against on a few different levels. It's really good. It's really well written, but it's uniquely written. Now, this is the way it not parallels Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf's book is written in a really kind of odd fashion, but Virginia Woolf's book goes backwards and forwards in time, but without it being clear. Now, this is where Virginia Woolf's book fails, in my view, that I can't really tell. I get confused when I was reading. I got confused when I was reading it, when she's going back in time and flipping between characters without a clear kind of change between the characters. Now, what Natasha does really well is, going backwards in time. It's clear when she's talking about a historic event that the protagonist is thinking about, or the male perspective that's being reflected in the book, or the female or the other females' perspectives, because it's not just about a feminist book. It's about race as well, and about how society feels about that. It's especially significant in modern Britain when we're talking about immigrants who come over here, and talk about stopping the immigrants from coming in. And by immigrants, they're often talking about people with a different skin pigmentation. That's the way it seems. And I think this book really captures that well, that perspective. Now, while we're talking about race, and let's talk first about being a female. So I talked a little bit about how being a female you can feel uncomfortable, but also females don't rate themselves as highly as males with the same experience. So the female protagonist is a very accomplished worker, but the male equivalent to her, she's down here, right? She's down here at the bottom of the screen. A male who's the equivalent or worse at their job than she is, they are confident up here and she is unconfident down here. That's how it feels. It's such a vast gap, and that's because she's had to work for everything to prove herself every single step of the way. So I can kind of feel that a little bit, mainly because I suppose I didn't work as hard as I should have in university, etc., maybe in my job. But it's a different kind of perspective, and I suppose I can associate with one of the male characters here on the way that they feel hard done by a little bit. But I don't feel the same way. I don't feel hard done by when females in particular excel way above me. That is awesome. And even when males do, I don't care if they're good. That is awesome. But when they're the same level as me, that's what I used to find frustrating 100%. When males who were the same or not as good as me, but had that confidence, that male confidence that I don't always have. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I can feel that a little bit, but I really don't have a clue how it feels on a day-to-day basis to be a female, especially not a black female. So it's funny because it reflects a little bit, a puny bit, about colonisation as well, and the effects of race on colonisation, and bringing after the war. Obviously, Enoch Powell brought a lot of folk from the Caribbean over here to work in the NHS as nurses and doctors, etc., and to come and do work that other people weren't around qualified, capable of doing. So Enoch Powell brought, advertised for them to come over here. Our British patriots. They are not immigrants. They are from the same empire, the same British Empire, the empire that had no borders. So it's crazy that we send them back. Now this is also talks about those vans that, remember Theresa May when she sent those speaker tower vans around saying, get back, around London. saying people who are not here legally need to go back before they get arrested or something. I don't know what the wording was, but this book reflects that. It's about being made to feel unwelcome. So this is when she's at a little, I think it's a works do, kind of a kind of social do, and it's where she's feeling out, she's not feeling a part of it, she feels separate. Like all the men and her boyfriend, I think, might be there, are all confident and we belong here, but she doesn't feel like she belongs. She feels like an outcast in a way. So she's talking about how now she comes across people who are, the character comes across people who are right wing, who say you don't belong here, or you didn't work hard enough to get that job, you got that job because of your race. And then you've got the left wing who are saying you're privileged, you're making a lot of money, you have this penthouse, not penthouse suite, but you have this apartment in London. Why are you not bringing the other people of colour up with you? You should be helping others. So she can't win, basically. She's on this knife edge between the cultures, and she doesn't feel like she belongs, and it's really, really upsetting. Really, it is a terrible kind of perspective, and it's harsh, and it's stressful, incredibly stressful for her. And I certainly wouldn't want to experience it. I'm certainly glad that I'm a white male. I got away with it by being born this gender, this pigmentation of skin. So let's just read something out here. So this is about the children that grow up of colour. So best case, this is a best case for those children, right, who grow up in the UK. Best case, those children grow up, assimilate, get jobs and pour money into a government that forever tells them they are not British. This is not home. It's powerful. But you ask anybody on the streets, just about any British person, if somebody, no matter the colour of the skin, no matter their background, if they work hard, if they have a British passport, if they were born in this country, then they should be unrestricted. They should be able to achieve, as high as they can possibly go. I don't think anybody disagrees with that, except for racists, of course. I don't think the British public, don't believe in that. But then the system itself does not believe that. It doesn't. The outward view of it is that we got, like, the Windrush people, we got them over here, and then just as they reach retirement, they've worked in the NHS, and that is a hard job, shift working, they deal with all kinds of abuse. I'm just talking general NHS here, I'm not talking racist abuse, which is also another factor. That is a hard job. They've done it all their life, then they retire, and then they get deported back to Jamaica because the British government burnt their records, therefore they do not belong in this country. That's what actually happened. So let that sink in for a while before you sprout out how there is no white privilege, that we're all equal, because we're not. And I forget that all the time, but I do know that. I do know it. And I forget how privileged I am as a male as well. This book corrects a lot of those things, and I think that's why I don't know, I don't read a lot of feminist fiction, but to me this has got to be one of the best. It's a 5 out of 5 experience. You need to get out there and get it. Now, the only negative aspect of the book is, it's probably in a similar way, Dalloway, I've got her here somewhere, Mrs. Dalloway, very bright looking book. It's it's not as easy to read at all. It took me about a week to read Mrs. Dalloway. I could have read it in one sitting. It did take me 2 days because I started it in the night, but I finished, within 30 minutes before bedtime. I'm never going to finish it during that time. But similar to other modern books, it's written in a particular, perhaps peculiar style, which it took me about 15 pages to get my eye in, and after that it was silky smooth. It was very easy to read, very easy indeed. But I'd say give it 30 pages at least to get your eye in and enjoy it, and reread it from the start again if it only clicks and you want to go back to it, because it is such a short book. Get it from a library, borrow it if you don't believe it's worthwhile spending money on it. But I would buy it, because I certainly would recommend purchasing it if for anybody whatsoever. You buy one book this year, and we're getting towards, I suppose, the tail end of 2025. The nights are drawing in. This is the book to get. This is the one. I would pay money for it, definitely. And that's unique. I'm tight. I don't like paying the money. $12.99 for what it's taught me. That's well worth it. What it's taught me, it's worth it. So buy the book, and certainly look out for any other books by her. I've not even Googled it. I'm not aware. I just got given it. I was out at the library. My partner read it, so I thought, you know what? She put it on my side of the bed. I should probably have a little quick read. It's an easy reader. It's an easy one to tick off. If you're into reading books and getting them done, that is the one to read. So quick, it's so condensed, it's so powerful. It's amazing. I think I've talked enough about it. I really like the book. It's well written. I don't think I need to say anything else, but it talks about everything. It talks about the female perspective, the black female perspective, the class struggles as well. It's got something in it for everyone. Even if you're not a feminist, I think you should read it anyway to look at the perspective upon the British public about how people of a lower class, I suppose it is a middle class, have to work so hard in modern society. I think it's a good book just for reading for that. Anyway, I've talked enough about this. You know my feelings. Thank you very much for watching. Drop your comments down below if you agree or disagree. If you have anything else to say, if I've got anything wrong, drop it in there as well. If you've got a different perspective on this particular book. Try not to drop any spoilers. I hope I've not dropped any spoilers there, but it's complete. You know, it's got a start, a middle, and an ending. The ending, many would say it's a happy ending, but it isn't because of the perspective of the protagonist. That is the powerful bit. That's the lesson to learn. I could read it again. I really probably should read it again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a most excellent day.